I'm James E. Edward Claybourne, was born 2/11/1949, about 20 blocks from here on Morton Street, 920 Morton Street. And at that time, when I was born in 1949, that part of the road was still from out of town. Was that something? The high school, Shelbyville Central, was the one at inside of town right there on Union Street. That's why you say you were in Shelbyville at that time. But during the years, I grew up pretty good in a family with grandparents and mom, and they took care of me. We didn't have a whole lot of money as black people, but also they had everybody in the house had at least two jobs. Grandfather laid brick and block every day, would come home and go around to homes in the vicinity. And then my grandmother was for, I think, 20 years, from 1936 to 1966, 30 years, she was the head of the cafeteria at Bedford County Schools, at Bedford County training school, but in the school system for those 30 years. And 66, when they closed Bedford County up there, we moved her over to now is Rosenwald Community Center, where the preschool was at. And my mom, she worked all the way those years in Bedford County Training School and Harris until until I transferred in 65. She stayed there for one more year also, and then started working at what's that down there at the school system, but at the hospital. That's where she started. But during the years, doing that work, woke up and enjoyed every year that I was up there for 10 years at Bedford County Training School. And then all of a sudden, like I told Coach and them, that on May 22nd or whatever in 1951, as I take that back, in 1950, let's see, that was 50 something, that was 64, came in and told us that they were going to close the school, and that meant we had to go to school in Shelbyville Central.
What makes America great?
America is something else. When you think about it and go back, when you go to college or go to high school and college, you read in the civics, either the history books of knowing what happened to all 50 states in the United States. Really wasn't but 48 at one time, and then the other two, 49 and 50, came up during the 40s and 50s, I think. And when we were thinking about it, and I went to college during 67, learning of what was going on outside of Bedford County. That was my first time of going and staying out. Of course, I'd go to Nashville and visit some of the family or whatever, and go on TSU campus and Fisk campus when I was growing up. So my mind was really kind of wasn't grown that large until I went to college and found out what was going on with people or whatever.
When were you most proud to be an American?
I think probably about the sixth or seventh grade, like I say, in middle school. And in middle school over there at Bedford County Training School, started reading, and in a class from Miss Denton, I think, Miss DeShiel, that's two people that I think you remember, both of those two people, uh, taught us what was going on other than Bedford County. So we were reading and then talking about the different cultures that we would see or whatever, and wanted to meet or whatever. Not that many people from the foreign countries were here, but there were several in Bedford County or Shelbyville that you would meet or whatever. But we started, I think that started probably in 1950. Let's see, I started in 55. So probably in 60, 61, when I was in middle school, that's when I started accepting where I was, knowing what it's about, and where we were. We'd meet several people, talk to them, play a little ball against each other, whatever, but it kind of hit me that always made me wonder why we were not together when I was in middle school. In high school, the year that president was, that was 1963, was sitting there when the president was murdered in Texas or whatever. You can take that back, and us realizing how bad the world was, and the United States. And after that, several other people, Martin Luther King, the president's brother, and Malcolm X. All those were people that were murdered, saying that we could not be together. That's what our country was taking in the maybe 60s, 63, 62, 63. But all world hit when integration started, I think, in Middle Tennessee or Tennessee in 64, 65, around the United States finally in 70 through 75, and people started understanding and why we were all together.
What event in your lifetime, positive or negative, meant the most to you as an American?
I would say the most positive thing that I grew up with, and that was the first 10 years of my life, the first 10 years of my life, 11, in a little 4 blocks or whatever over there, Morton Street, Woodbury, Severe Street, Lipscomb or whatever, and Main Street. Uh, and before integration. And integration come in 1964, about 63, 64, 65 when it blew. And then me getting out, then leaving here in May of 1967 when I graduated from Central. And I went to college as an athlete, basically. I've learned some education, of course. But when I went to play ball and get out and travel, I was fortunate enough to say, wow, this is something. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I got education, and everywhere I went and played football and basketball in college. Then I went and played semi-pro ball in Florida and Fort Lauderdale, and became all the way in Miami before I left. After 15 years down there, I had become a department head in one of the largest colleges in let's say junior colleges in the nation. I had moved all the way up from first as an admissions person all the way up to the registrar. So that right there blew my mind. But when I looked at it though, look at how much we have grown. And then when I got back here, like I said, how much we have grown in the population, the growth, the education, and just the love of people, I think.
If you visited outside the country or from sea to shining sea, which parts of America have you enjoyed the most?
I was fortunate enough to be out of the countries as an athlete, with some first, and then also being a administrator. And I got out to the Bahamas, the Haiti, to Dominican, to travel, like get on a boat and go over, and then get off the boat and be able to hang and meet people and talk to them. For the 42 years, 20 of those years, I was 20 something of those 42, because let's see, 18 and 19, I was here at home. But the years that I started in 1975, you wouldn't believe at that time I was always a part of the foreign countries or whatever, because I was the director or assistant director of foreign students. I would always go back and say, of course, I love Chevyville because I was born and raised here. Nashville would be number two because that's where I went to college at Fisk and TSU. But nothing is ever any better than me living in Fort Lauderdale and Miami, the 15 years, and I would leave today and live there for the rest of my life, okay? That was something that me being a young person at 20 something when I went there, to meet the different types of people, their languages, their food, their trouble, whatever, And of course, yeah, when I was young, I didn't answer that question a few minutes ago. Yes, I got in trouble. I was everywhere. Okay, yeah. I would be at the work at the college from 7 in the morning to about 7 at night, and at night I'm everywhere. Okay, enjoyed it. Met so many people. Even right now, President Trump, didn't shake his hand and meet him, but he was in there the same I was. He came in 1980 to the same. I mean 19. He was in Florida, okay, before, and coming from New York, and I was into college and would know when he bought the rail where the golf course was, the hotel and the condos, he lost all of it, whatever. That's one of the times he lost money. And I was kind of from here, we are in this school here, and he was at the other end of the school over in maybe other auditorium over here, and I didn't know he was there or whatever when I went to meetings or to afterwards or whatever. Okay.
How do you feel like that being an American has shaped who you are?
I was, I think every day when I pray about it to God and Jesus, I've been there and saved. I have been saved for those. I'm 77 now, at least 75. He has heard me every day preaching or whatever. Thank you or whatever, because I've came a long way. I just love being in America because I went to the different colleges. I met with people. I see on TV every day, on the computer every day. That's why I keep myself going on the phones or whatever. I see that every day, and all the problems people are having is just simple of just talking about it and easing down a little bit. But we would, like we are right now in this war over there in Iran. It's a trip, man. I used to have some of those craziest students over there. I had them, their mamas and daddies probably got them in school or whatever there in Miami. But I just think about it, and I love being in the United States. I love being in Tennessee. Like I say, I love Nashville, but in Miami or whatever. But just being a black person that grew up these 77 years, I look back at it and say, I am proud who I am and thank you for who I am.